Paramount and Warner Brothers, they've been in conversation for a couple weeks here. They have been. I mean, look, I know Warner Brothers Discovery has been in discussion, like people's mouths, for what now? Has it been 2 years? That they're going to get sold, that there's going to be a merger. I've talked about it. Other YouTubers have talked about it. Some have said, oh, it's going to happen in a month. Some have said it's going to happen in the next 3 weeks. And it's never come. It's never come. It's never come. And it's been 2 years. We know that it's going to happen. We've all known it's going to happen. Well, finally, now some people were like, it's going to be Universal. Some have said it's going to be Paramount. Then it popped up, it's going to be Netflix. I think at one point, some people were like, it's going to be Apple. It's going to be Disney. Like, it's been all over the place. It's been all over the place. Well, recently, Paramount was really up there high on the list. That's because David Ellison recently bought, merged with Skydance and Paramount. Paramount and Skydance merged, and that all went through. That all became official just months ago, not that long ago. He's part of one of the richest families in the world, and he wants more. He's like, gimme. I want more. So he's now looking at bidding on Warner Brothers. Now, we know Warner Brothers is looking at splitting their company with doing next year, with doing kind of essentially movies on one side and television on the other. Essentially, that's what they're doing. Because TV just is not profitable anymore. So when I say TV, like cable TV stuff, they're like, yeah, let's go push that over there. Nobody wants that crap. So that's what their plan is next year. However, Paramount wants to buy the company as a whole. That's what they want to do. And I get it. I understand they want the company as a whole because there's a lot there that they would like to take. There's a lot that they would like to get when it comes to IPs and franchises and deals with different sports and just news deals and things like that. Like, there's so much there that we don't even understand, that we don't even know all about. But there is so much there that Paramount wants to get their hands on. So there's been these discussions going on. What are they going to do? Are they going to bid? Are they going to wait? Like, how's this going to go? And obviously, they're going to talk. They're going to have discussions. Like, what's it going to take? What's it going to take? What's it going to take? So Paramount finally does send a bid their way. They sent a bid towards Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers rejected it. So Bloomberg is reporting that Paramount made an initial offer of $20 per share for the company, which totals a market capitalization of roughly $49.64 billion. Zaslav and his team rejected the offer, calling it too low. Warner Brothers Discovery stock closed on Friday at $17.10 per share. It will certainly be interesting to see how this latest offer from Paramount moves the needle once the stock market opens on Monday morning. So this was last week that this happened. So they were willing to pay roughly $3 over what their stock was per share. Now, here's the thing that we have to remember, okay? Warner Brothers is millions and millions and millions of dollars in debt. So the fact that they went in there and they're like, look, we're going to overpay per share to take you on and take on this debt. That's number one. But remember, this is a publicly traded company. So while Zaslav and his team can reject an offer, can accept an offer, that doesn't mean that the offer is official at that point, because at that point, when they accept or reject an offer, they have to take it to the shareholders, and the shareholders then have to vote on it and agree to it and not agree to it. And they rejected it because they believe that they can get more for their shareholders, or they believe that this is not the right move for the company. We don't know what their reasoning was for rejecting it. Or they could be thinking that, hey, um, or here's the thing. Yeah, like I said, they could be thinking this is not a good move because they may want to still split. They may be weighing their options and still want to split their company, and maybe after the split, sell the company in parts. That's another possibility, and maybe they think they can make more money that way. However, there's another possibility, which is, where did it go? Comcast. Comcast Universal, or Universal Comcast, however it goes, may soon jump into the mix. According to sources close to Paramount Skydance, insiders note that the conglomerate headed by Chairman Brian Roberts is in the middle of breaking out its cable TV properties into a separate company named Versant. Once that spinoff is complete, Comcast will consist of its Peacock streaming service, its Universal theme parks, NBC News, and Xfinity, a unit that provides internet and cable services. According to sources, Skydance is particularly worried about a possible Comcast bid because Warner Brothers Discovery's deal-savvy Zaslav already has a strategic relationship with Comcast Xfinity unit to deliver content through the company's internet service and cable pipes. It's unclear which Comcast unit would make the bid, but the cable giant's boss, Roberts, is said to be highly interested in Warner Brothers Discovery's content, as well as its top-ranked studio and HBO Max streaming service, now the number 3 most popular. And the reason why I bring this up is because, like I said, this last bit of information, sell to David Ellison of Paramount or split. And if they were to split the companies, let's say they split and they do HBO Max and the movie studios over here, and then the cable stuff and the TV stuff over here, this here, Comcast, would be very interested, most likely, in that HBO Max studio side of things, in the movie studio side. And they may bid on that. Now, how much would they pay for that? Would they pay that, what was it, $46 billion or whatever it was for just that? Probably not. But could it be upwards of 25 million or billion? I'm sorry. Possibly. But what do they then do with the TV side of things? See, that's where it starts to get interesting. And I'm going to say this. Do not write off any other companies coming in and throwing their hat in the ring right now. I'm not going to sit here and say that like Disney's going to come in. I'm not going to sit here and say that Apple's going to come in, but we've heard the rumblings of Netflix, and I don't think Netflix is going to happen. Not now, not for the whole company. But if Warner Brothers Discovery decides to wait until their split happens, I can see them at that point in time coming in and trying to get that HBO Max and movie studio side. That's what's going to be interesting. And I honestly think, look, I'm not a professional. I'm going to be the first to admit to you, I'm not a professional. I don't know all the ins and outs. But I really, truly believe that that is the move that Warner Brothers Discovery wants to make. I truly believe that's what they want to make. And I think Skydance Paramount, unless they come in with a deal that is just too good to pass up, I'm talking like $25 to $30 per share, if not more, I don't think they're even going to consider it. Now, keep in mind, if Ellison comes in with a deal and Zaslav and his team turns it down, and it's found out to be something astronomical, and the shareholders find out, the shareholders can pressure Zaslav, and they could very well pressure to vote him out, to get him out, to have him fired, to get that deal to go through. What the intricacies of all that are, I don't know, because I don't know the rules and regulations and the contracts and stuff like that of Warner Brothers. But I'm sure they have some precedent that if if Zaslav and his team doesn't do what's best for their shareholders, he can be ousted. So this is all a very, very interesting story. This is much different than what happened with Fox and Disney. This is much different than what happened with Paramount and Skydance. Like, this is very different than what we've seen before. So I think we all need to keep an eye on this, because I think this could go any way. I don't think this is going to be something that gets done within the next week or two. I don't think this is going to be something that's going to happen even. I said this a couple weeks ago. I think this is going to go until, at the very earliest, the end of this year. But if Warner Brothers goes the way that they want it to go, if they go until they get their split in the company, which is going to happen next year, well, then keep in mind, because this is where we're going to then move over to the James Gunn of it all, because I do want to talk about that slightly, just for a bit. If we move to the James Gunn of it all, everybody has this idea, or this thought, that let's say I'm completely wrong, and tomorrow it's announced that Paramount buys Warner Brothers Discovery. Okay, let's say that happens October 16th of 2025. That does not mean that October 16th of 2025, David Ellison can walk into Warner Brothers and start firing people. This deal, like I said, would then have to go to the shareholders. The shareholders would have to agree to it. It would then have to go through a whole bunch of regulators and get through that. This deal would take anywhere from 12 to 24 months to be completed. We're talking 12 to 24 months. Now, sure, they could have ways that they could speed it up. Backhand deals and things like that. Backdoor deals, not backhand deals, backdoor deals and things like that. But for the most part, it's going to take 12 to 24 months to get completed. We saw it with Fox. Like that took, what, I think it took 16 months, 18 months, something like that, for that deal to be finalized. So, with that said, David Ellison purchases Warner Brothers Discovery. Okay? Everybody's like, James Gunn's fired. No. That's not necessarily what happens. Let's just say, for the sake of there being an argument here, okay, let's use our brains. Ellison buys Warner Brothers Discovery. They wait, because obviously they'll have a vote. It might take a few days, maybe a week, for the board to get together, the shareholders to get together, to have their vote, all that kind of stuff. They have their vote. Then it goes to the regulators. Then it has to go through all that. Everybody has to, it takes months and months. During that time, they're not going to just stop putting out content. They're not going to put a halt on DC Studios. James Gunn is going to go forward as business as usual. You're going to have your Lanterns, your Supergirl, your Man of Tomorrow, and anything else that he has planned. Those things are still going to happen. Now, let's say every one of those projects bomb. They bomb. Well, yeah, David Ellison, once this deal is complete, he may come in and say, "You're fired," and get him out of there. Very well possible. However, if all those movies and projects are hits and they make money and they do well, and they look good and people enjoy them, David Ellison's not going to come in there and say, "You're gone." No, he's going to say, "Hey, you've been doing a good job through this rough time. You're staying on." That's the thing that people don't understand. That just because you hear there's a sale going on, or there's a potential sale to happen, or there could be a merger that happens, that does not mean that the person of said company that might be taking over is going to come in immediately and fire everybody, because it takes so much time for these deals to finalize and go through and everything to happen that anything could happen during that time. The DCU could become the number one studio in Hollywood between now and then. We don't know what could happen. Now, another interesting thing to remember, 2022 is when when Zaslav signed Safran and Gunn. So Safran and Gunn signed their deal in, what was it, November of 2022? And they got a 5-year deal. So 5 years takes them to November of 2027. Now, what's interesting about that is that would make, Man of Tomorrow potentially, definitely the last movie that James Gunn would be writing and directing under that deal. Okay. Now, let's say next year, there's still no deal in place. Lanterns comes out, Supergirl comes out, they both do really well. There's still no deal in place. David Zaslav could easily just extend Safran and Gunn for another X amount of years. He could say, look, I like what you've done. You've done really well for this new studio. Here's an extension for another 5-6 years. And they can keep moving forward. They can keep going. That's if there's no deal going on. So there's so many moving pieces to this. Let's look at one more aspect of it. And I said this earlier when I first started talking about this. When I first started talking about this, I said, there are so many pieces of Warner Brothers Discovery that any company would want, whether it's the IPs, franchises, Harry Potter, DC, Looney Tunes, you name it. There's so many different IPs that they would want. Game of Thrones, all of those IPs they would want to have. Okay? As well as all the different types of deals they have in regards to sports or news or whatever it is. Do you really think David Ellison or what's his name? The guy from Comcast, Roberts, is sitting there seething, saying, you know what? I want Warner Brothers Discovery because I want to get James Gunn out of there. Do you think that's what they're saying? Do you think that's what they're thinking? No. What they're doing, most likely, I can't sit here and say for certain, but what they're most likely doing is they're sitting there and they're saying, I want Warner Brothers Discovery because I want all of what they have, because I can add that to the portfolio of my current business and we can expand from there. That's what they're talking about. That's what they're thinking. They're not sitting there thinking about, I'm going to get rid of this executive, this executive, this executive, this producer, this director, that executive, this one. They're not thinking about that right now because that isn't what is important. What's important is figuring out how to get the deal done to get that under their umbrella. And then at that point in time, then they'll start going through everything and seeing what's working, what's not working, why is it working, why isn't it working, who do we keep, who do we get rid of? So, again, reports or people talking about James Gunn being gone, ridiculous. The sale and everything like that, what's going on with the sale? Look, it's exciting to think about. It's not exciting to think about. I don't want it to happen because I don't want more mergers. I want more studios, but I know that it's an inevitability. There we go. We know it's going to happen. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to play out a lot longer than I think a lot of other people think it's going to be. It's going to be a lot longer, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, like I said, maybe it happens tomorrow. Maybe it happens a week from now. But I think it's going to be no earlier than the end of this year. No earlier than December, maybe January. No earlier than that. But again, I'm not a professional. I don't have insider knowledge. I'm not a paid shill, as I was called, or apparently outed as. So let me know your thoughts, though. It's all interesting, I know, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below.